Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Refine and Shine podcast. I'm super excited about my guest today. We were actually talking for quite some time, and it's like, oh my gosh, we need to start recording this podcast. But my guest today is amazing. Her name is Malaysia Harrell. She is a board certified psychotherapist, a spiritual transformation coach, a veteran, an award-winning entrepreneur, a keynote speaker, and author. But most importantly, she is a healer and a light who helps women rediscover their true selves. Through her powerful blend of clinical expertise, spiritual wisdom, and intuitive guidance, Malaysia helps women heal from past trauma, releasing limited beliefs, and stepping into lives of authenticity and freedom. Her own journey from overcoming childhood trauma and a life-threatening illness to building a thriving career is proof that faith, resilience, and purpose can transform pain into power. As a founder of Blissful Life Consulting, Malaysia is on a mission to empower individuals and communities through mindset coaching and holistic wellness. Whether she's speaking to one person or 1,000, Malaysia's energy awakens women to the possibility of more, and no one leaves her presence unchanged. In addition, she's a founder and president of the nonprofit organization Malaysia Harrell Foundation, which focuses on mental health and holistic health to veteran women and the underserved population, focusing also on suicide prevention. Thank you, Malaysia, for being my guest today.
Thank you for having me, Angelina, and thank you for that great welcome.
I just love, I see you now, and we go back and we're reading your bio, and it's like all these great things, but it wasn't always that way, right? I mean, we didn't even talk about, we read that bio, but you're also like a veteran spouse as well. And then you had this childhood, issues that you were going through. Can you walk us through and take us back to where you were back then and where you are today and how it's all been along the way?
Yes. Well, again, thank you. And, myself, like many women or people who've come up in trauma, they, come with this mask of perfection and people pleasing and all the things to say, I'm not going to be like the person who treated me this way, and I'm not going to be poor anymore, and I'm not going to. And so you do everything to try to, develop this new version of yourself. And, so I was very successful. I grew up with a single mom, and I'm the oldest of 3 girls. And also I had a half brother as well that has now passed on. And so again, I was in every talented program, gifted STEM, writing program, and not even in middle school, before junior high school. So I excelled very highly, because what I didn't know then is that I used validation, and I used my grades, and I used what I accomplished as my form of love, my form, because that's, your professors or your teachers that love you, they give you all this attention, and they're like, for anything that comes up, Malaysia has to, put her name on the list. And for those of you who are familiar with Girls State and Boys State, I went to Girls State. I was one of 3 girls, one of 3 Black or African-American women that was part of 500 girls in the state of Massachusetts from all, different, what do you call it, in your counties. Mm-hmm. So they sent a certain amount per county. So one of 3 African-American girls to go to that. So again, I thought I was going to be in politics and do all of that stuff. And so I was in junior ROTC, went to college, did 2 years of ROTC, 1 year of Air Force, 1 year of Army. And then I quickly realized that my whole childhood was taken up by the serving, right? And I was like, I'm not sure. So I was like, I just want to have fun now. I want to do some things. And so I graduated from there and, got my master's in social work. I thought I was going to do prison reform or something, to protect children, right? A lot of us get into these helping professions because of our experience. And so when I graduated the program, or right before I graduated, I was like, okay, I wanted to be Clarice Starling. I wanted to do criminal profiling, and all of that stuff. And then 9/11 happened. So I was in my internship at the Baltimore Public Defender's Office. Now, before that, I worked corrections in the state of Connecticut before I came to Maryland. So again, I was always in these jobs that were like the worst of the worst types of jobs. And then I even did child welfare in Montgomery County right when I graduated. But the day 9/11 happened, I knew I was going into the military. I said that day I was going. So when I graduated, I did child welfare, but I did the intensive unit for child fatalities and serious injuries. So that was pretty challenging. Then I got a chance to go into the Air Force. I did a residency program. I was selected for that. Started at Andrews Air Force Base, and I was very successful, even in the military, like, what do they call it? A hard charger in the
Yeah.
military,
Yep.
someone who is, and so, then I ended up transferring into the United States Public Health Service after over 7 years. I had just gotten promoted to major, and then I transferred. So I know they weren't happy about that because I got to definitely promote. Those of you who know about DPs and things you need to get promoted.
Yeah.
But I actually transferred because, like I had told you before, I had a half brother who didn't make it. He was tragically taken from us. And I didn't want my dad to, because that was at the height of the war on Afghanistan. And I didn't want my dad to ever have to bury another child in that way.
Yeah.
And he was very worried at the time. And I remember him saying, Angelina, if they take you as a prisoner of war, they're going to be begging the president to take you back. Like, he kept trying to keep himself going. So I was like, you know what? I got to do something. So I transferred. And of course, because many of the providers were deployed overseas, we augmented the United States Public Health Service. We augmented those officers. So a lot of us I did most of my career in Department of Defense regardless. So I was doing well. Worked for the Surgeon General of the United States. I was the Director of Addictions Medicine for Department of Defense. Highly decorated. If you see I'll send you the picture of my retirement. Looked like Colin Powell, right? 2020 happened. What happened during 2020?
The pandemic.
The pandemic. So I deployed to the Navajo Nation, to the most desolate area. When I tell you they were being demise, like, there was a lot of deaths there. And that was one of the most reddest zones in the world at the time because the deaths per capita, they were pretty much being wiped out. And, me being there as the lead behavioral health provider for the incident command response team, and I did mental health for all the medical staff for 2 medical centers, and they sent me by myself. I was kind of having this thought process, right? I don't know if you want to call it awakening, but something started to shift for me because it was like, I'm doing all this to serve, but there's people who live here without running water. You know what I mean? In the United States. So I was like, okay, I started thinking like, what can I tell them about resilience? You know what I mean? I was like, is this a joke? And I'm a high ranking person and they're telling me go back to DC, tell them a lot was going on. Let me just say that. So I get back home and I was starting to feel, like a lot of anxiety, kind of like traumatic stuff. It was very traumatic listening to the stories, and I wasn't actually safe there by myself. And so what did I do when I come home? Oh, I got this. I'm gonna exercise, right? What would I tell my patients? I'm gonna get it out. So that's when things started to turn, because a couple weeks after I got home, I started experiencing severe pain in my left hip, to the point where I couldn't walk. So instead of waking up my Army Ranger husband to help me go to the bathroom, what did I do? I crawled. Got this. I've been through stuff. I know what to do. I did races all over the world, bodybuilding. There was nothing I couldn't do until I couldn't. And so again, went to the hospital a couple times, give you morphine, send you home. And then, I mean, it was getting to the point where I knew I was transitioning, but it was like when someone's telling you, oh, everything's fine, you're like, or I can't find anything. You're like, okay. So my husband's like, no, we're going to the military hospital this time. Because when the ambulance gets you, they don't bring you to the military hospital.
Right.
So we get to Andrews, they, transport me to Walter Reed Medical Center. I'm there for 4 days. I'm on the highest level pain meds because even on the pain meds, I was in extreme pain. So what happens? 4 days later, the doctor comes in. And again, by this time, they have all the classes coming in, taking notes because it's a training facility. Mm-hmm. They asked me, can the residents come in? Sure. I was a resident before. 4 days, Captain Harrell, we can't find anything. We're sending you home today. Oh, really? And by the way, we're sending in the psychiatrist because we can't find anything wrong with you. So me being a provider for almost 30 years, I already know what the deal was. If I didn't behave like a provider, they would have taken me over to the other side to do some more evaluation. So I was like, listen, y'all could euthanize me. You wouldn't be able to deal with this pain. So ultimately, they ended up they sent in a psychiatrist, and I'm talking to him. We talking shop here. Yeah. I'm like, is this a somatics? Am I imagining this? Like, what do we got to do? And so they took a sample out of my hip, and they're running back in the room. We got to get her to surgery. Got to get her. I mean, when I tell you all hands on deck, they came in there. I had sepsis.
Oh, wow.
I would have been gone that day or the next day. I would have been out of here. And most people don't make it through having sepsis, or they've had limbs removed. All types of things have happened when I look at people, their stories, and I'm learning more about it. And so ultimately, to answer your question, that was the major shift that caused me to say, who is Malaysia? Who am I? I know who I am on the outside. I know what I've accomplished. But without all of that, and with that being in jeopardy, because I ended up, having a medical retirement last year. I did 20 years and 8 months, but I didn't want to. I wanted to do 30 years. I wanted to make Admiral. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't until that happened that I was forced to figure out who I was and learn to love myself outside of these accolades, because guess where they are now? Look, where's your husband's stuff? Not even. It's too many. Some of them are hanging in the base. Like, we have a basement that has a storage room. Some of them are hanging in the storage room.
Yeah, and the rest are probably in a box, right?
They're in a box because I don't have a big headquarters space yet. I will have an honor room or honor wall when we, for the nonprofit or something. But I was just like, all that work, nobody remembers what you did. So long story short, that's what happened.
I love all the things. Taking it back, like when I can relate to you so much when you talked about being raised, with your, I came from a family of 6, but I was the middle child. So then there was the first 3, and I was the youngest of the first 3. And then there was the second 3, right? So then on the second 3, I was the oldest of the 4, there was me and then 3 more. And so, and there was a kind of a difference of age in between. Some joke that I was too much for my mom, so she finally had a gap in between the kids. But I can relate to you. Is like, you wanted, like, my mom was so busy raising kids. I love my mom, and no shame or putting her down, but she was trying to make it as, my parents separated after I was born for a bit of time, and then they got back together, and then they separated again, and then they finally divorced. But her she was going to school full time. She was working. She was doing all these things. And so, so busy all the time, and, trying to provide for us. So I remember, I can relate. So I remember getting those report cards or getting all of that, there's a spelling bee or band. I would play the instrument. I would do all of these things just because I wanted that validation, right? You wanted to, like, okay, I'm worthy. I'm, because our circumstances, maybe, like for me, it wasn't always the best, right? We got one pair of shoes for school. a couple of t-shirts, and me and my sisters would switch the shirts so that way we'd have more shirts so it looked like we had more colors. But different things like that. And so I can relate, like we're always trying to excel and excel. And then all of a sudden it's like something life changing has to happen to us.
That's right.
And God has to say, like, stop, wait, hold on. I made you for great things, but one of the things you're not living, I want you to pivot. My husband calls it the snowball effect. He says sometimes God shakes things up, like the snowball, you shake things up so something else more beautiful can come about.
I love that. I love that. That is so true.
And look what you're doing now, like, because of how the things that you had to, transform. Yes, like, I admire you that you got your master's, something I haven't yet done, but, and you wanted to be admiral, and I wanted to go into the Air Force myself. I actually did the Air Force ROTC in high school, the junior ROTC program. But life pivoted, like things happened. No regrets, because like everything happens for a reason, and it helps us that all the things that we achieved, even if it was hard, and maybe if it was for external validation and we just wanted to be loved or liked or wanted, all of it is to lead us to where you are able to help people today, right?
That's right. It's not about us. And that's one of the biggest things that I realized, because I was 254 pounds. I had Bell's palsy, so my face came all the way down. I was on oral chemo. They thought I had cancer. I had sarcoidosis. It operates the same way. And so I was just like, when I tell you, I couldn't even take care of myself. And my husband had to make the house ADA for me, and be able to, take a shower and put the chair in the shower so I can sit down. Like, we were tested in so many ways. We got married in 2016 and that happened in 2020. So we were still I still consider us newlyweds. I don't know why. It's like it's 9 years next month, but, you realize so many things once you start to reflect, once you start to process and get through some of that trauma. And it's very important because, again, you talked about like learning what your purpose is. And so some of us, we're kind of told, or, there might be some glimmers of signs that say you should be doing something else, but we're like, no, this is what I know and I can control this, right? I've been able to be successful in this. And so you don't want to surrender and you want to keep continuing to go, the way you think is right, because you're thinking, I got to have money, I got to maintain this house, I got to do all this stuff, not realizing that the art of surrender is actually the gift that's available to you, because now you can see the divine work in your favor. Because you're like, you told me to do what? Like the visions that I've been given? What? How would I do that? And then I start meeting people, having conversations, right? People saying, hey, I want to do this partnership with you. Come over to my place now, and so now I get someone term me the wellness mogul, right? And that's what I believe in my head. And I'm like, yes, I'm going to help people, give them exposure to things that, they can use and tools with their own healing journey, because no one's going to save us. Your doctor's not going to save you. Your doctor's not going to heal you. The system is actually not set up for that. And so you have to take responsibility and be the driver, right, of your own destiny. But once you start, it's scary. Because if this is all you knew, I'm not like, oh, yeah, it's cute. We're on the gram no, I'm not saying that at all. There's some work to be done. Even with me coaching mental health clients, speaking, authorship, it's even scarier because it's like, I don't have this whole regime around me before, being an 06, I could make a phone call, right?
Yeah. Somebody else can help you
now.
Yeah.
I can't do that now. So it feels like, for military terms, like you're starting all over again, right? And so you're this airman, you're this lieutenant, coming in, this private coming in, and but honestly, it's not, because you have a level of wisdom that you would not have had you not gone through all of that. And you're going to have a level of resilience, because guess what? Entrepreneurship is not easy.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I'm like, I'd rather get a paycheck in the middle. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I was doing so well, but now the world is open up to so much more. You know, there is so much available to us. And when I did decide to surrender and I had my retirement, although it felt like a funeral, 3 weeks later, I'm meeting with Howard Schultz, the founder of Starbucks, right?
Wow.
So you're going to have these miracles start to happen. And that was a message
Hmm.
to say, no, you don't got to worry about being admiral or whatever. I got a plan for you. Just trust me.
Hmm.
And ever since I did everything, I mean, we could talk for days about the manifestations and blessings, but yeah, it's opened up a whole new world for me.
I love that. I love that. And I think that that's one of the things that's so hard for people to do is like, and I know it's like when we're in that pain or whatever tragedies or health setbacks, like I've been through the same, a little bit of health setbacks myself. It's like, okay, what is God telling me to slow down for? Because what is he
Hmm.
trying to teach me? What is he trying
Hmm.
to say? Like, and like, I just had a conversation with somebody earlier today and they're like hustling, hustling. And I'm like, and they're like, I feel guilty for resting. I'm like, even Jesus rested. Like
That's
there's even
right.
Jesus
Every
rested.
week, one day a week, the
Yeah.
whole day was supposed to be. We used to honor the Sabbath. Nobody
Hmm.
really honors the Sabbath anymore, and even with Chick-fil-A, they're closed one day a week. Like they honor that. So
Yeah.
it's written in there, but do we do it? Not necessarily.
Right. Right. And I think that when we rest, it allows us time to heal. It also allows us time, our brain to shut down. And actually, I find that when we rest, we're able to
Mhm.
create more. Right.
You are.
Hmm.
You get clarity. Because you know why? So God is the creator. I mean, not to get too philosophical here. So if we're made in the image and likeness of God, that means when we're in our creative flow is when we're actually closest, right? Either when you're outside in nature, because we're part of nature, or when we're creating. That's what we were made to do. But we have learned to be workers,
Hmm.
and do all this stuff. But it's not till when you're in your creative mode is when you get all the answers. That's when you get the clues. That's because you're closest, right?
Right.
And so we need to glean into that. And so people always ask me, Malaysia, how can I get started? I know I need a change. I don't know what to do. And I'm saying, what is it that you used to do, possibly when you were a child or something that you dreamed about? And it makes you feel, when you do it, it feels like the world doesn't even exist. Some people, it is creating music, listening to sounds. Some people, it is painting. Some people, everybody has a different thing. Mine is creating fragrance.
Mm.
When I create fragrance, when I'm around fragrances, I have a candle company and I'm transitioning to a fragrance company. Because I believe that aromatherapy is something that we have available to us now. You can take yourself to another realm, smelling your grandmother's,
Hmm.
peach cobbler or apple pie or rice and beans, whatever that is for you. I know there's certain times a year when I have certain things, you see that little, what is it? The tin that they had the cookies in that they used to
Yeah.
put the buttons in. There's
Yeah.
certain things that give you triggers for good. And
Yeah.
so it's like, what are those things? Just start there. Just start there. Just start. I need to dust off my artwork or whatever. Dust it off. Get the brushes out. Do what you do. Maybe it's creating movies. Maybe it's writing. But that is something that it's like you get lost in space, like time doesn't even exist. Just start there because it's too hard to think about, okay, I got to meditate. I got to shut my brain off. And people are saying they can't do it. And I'm going to say, yes, you can. Some people, they're playing video game. What is that? When you
Hmm.
play video, they could probably be there for 3 days and not change their clothes. They don't even know what day it is. So I'm telling you, there is something that is going to resonate with everyone individually.
I love that. I love that. It's so simple too. Like you can just go
Yeah.
outside and like I will sometimes when I get so frustrated, my husband's like, get up, get out, get off the computer, go outside, take the dogs for a
Yes.
walk or something. And I love
Yes.
to walk with like no device. Like I have my phone just in case I need it, but I don't like
Right.
listen to music or anything like that because I'm like, I just want to walk and just have the
Yeah.
sun beat on my, beat down on me and things like that. It's just
Mm,
those simple things that you can do. Go outside, just get away from the devices.
that's right.
And then, and then things will come to you, because when you, like, I don't know, for me, it's like when I'm walking outside and I hear the trees and the wind and everything like that, then I'm like, okay, I need to work on, let me start building this, or let me, like, my brain just goes, because I'm not thinking about what time it is or any of that stuff. I'm just like, and I love the thing that you said about the smells, like that you have a fragrance company that you're building now too. I'm like,
Mhm.
girl, what are you not doing?
Well,
But
I mean, it's just, I feel like it's I don't feel like it's work.
right, it's something
And
you
that's
love
the
to do.
difference. It's part of my ministry.
Mhm.
So I tell everybody this. I don't care if you're working, your life is a ministry, right? If you're
Mhm.
selling, t-shirts that have nice pictures on them, or you're selling artwork or a candle or whatever, that is your ministry. That is you giving back. When somebody took Howard Schultz's and they're doing, that dream of that coffee, right? Well, he went to Milan and saw hundreds of coffee shops. That was a dream, right? So now when you go in, well, hopefully, if it's similar to what his dream was, hopefully when you go in that store, that one person with that dream, you feel that. You
Mhm.
feel the manifest when you have that cup of coffee or that tea or that chai latte, and you have somebody's dream in your hand, and now I know I can dream too. Because it sounds crazy to have hundreds and thousands of Starbucks all over the world, or McDonald's, right?
Right, but that was a
That
dream.
dream is a manifestation. And I heard Oprah, I was at an event that she was getting an award a couple years ago, and she said, I think it was last year actually, but she said, I am a manifestation of God's dream for my life. And I said, hmm, you're right. I have a human brain. I can only think so far. But if God has a dream for my life, it's bigger than I can even fathom. So I'm like, every day, my mantra is, what do you have to show me? What do you have for me? What do you have for me to do to bless somebody else? But I always say that miracles are happening, and I love to look for them, right? To look for them every day, to say, what am I going to learn today? Or what messages or downloads am I going to get? And then it becomes exciting, because it's not like I got to figure this out, let me get my notebook and get my checklist and strategy. No, this is not that at all.
What I love about it is that you start the day, or you start with, like, what is it, what is going to be the dream, or what's going to come to me, instead of like the negative thinking too.
That's
Because
right.
when we start to think of negative things, then our brain's going to constantly look for negative things. But
That's
when we
right.
look for the gratefulness, and, like, you being a veteran, you've seen a lot of things in your life and your journey, and then, the childhood, hard times in the childhood to where you are today. You have to realize, I mean, you realize that, has it always been that way, that you start with the positive? Has it always been part of your life?
Well, when I was a little girl, and a lot of people who've been through trauma, they that's why we have people who have different personalities and
Mhm.
stuff. Like, you learn how to protect yourself at a
Mhm.
very young age. And so I was a dreamer. I used to so I didn't know what visualization and all that was, and meditate. When I was a little girl, I knew about the power of prayer and stuff like that, but I didn't know what spirituality was. I didn't know, that we have power, right? And
Mhm.
to really make things come into fruition, but I used to dream, and I used to imagine myself doing different things. So I learned that at a very powerful young age. And I did that throughout my entire life. And so people do call me the master manifester, because I manifest so many things all the time. And a lot of times we all do, but we're not, really, like you said, using that gratitude and paying attention to it. And so when you start to focus on that, then it's like the world becomes magic to you. It's like the Disney, movies are coming into fruition, because you can see, like, you ever had a time where it's like, okay, something happened with a job or a shutdown, a furlough, whatever. And you're like, oh, I'm not sure if I'm going to get my check. I'm not sure how I'm going to pay this, or, I had a car accident, whatever it is. And then something comes out of it, that it's like something better than you thought it would be, even though you had to go through some stress or trauma to get it. And
Right.
so that's what I feel like my whole life has been a manifestation of. But being a dreamer, that's one of my biggest quotes, is "the world belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams" by Eleanor Roosevelt. So that's one of my favorite quotes.
I love that. I think that's so important, is that like like you just keep having me go back to my childhood, and like the imagination, and like the things like I said, I got in trouble a lot. I talked a lot, got in trouble. I was always in the corner. But when I was in the corner, I used to dream. I used to imagine. I used to have like put these stories in my head. I used to,
Yeah,
and all of these things. And it really helped me get through life, like it helped me get through, and then like, okay, I'm going to have this goal, or what's it look like when I'm going to do this, or like
yeah,
having that feeling in your brain when you dream and you have these things, your brain doesn't know what's real or not real. Like
it
if you
does
keep,
not.
and so if you keep dreaming good things, the good things are going to happen to you, and you got to
They
be open
will.
to receive. And I love how
Yes.
you said, like, even like, there could be things that happen in our lives, like there's setbacks, there's things that happen, but what is
Hmm.
going to come out of those things? And we can say, oh, this is always like this is every time. Or we can be like, okay, God, what's next? Like, what are you going to give me
Hmm.
because this is
I
happening,
know
right?
I'm getting a big gift now. I went through all this. I know something coming.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love all the things that you share. And you have such a, like, tell us a little bit about how you're helping veteran women now. Like, what is it you're
Yeah.
doing with your foundation?
So with the foundation, I actually do a lot of things with women in general because I'm a spiritual transformation coach. I work with a lot of coaches actually in different parts of the world. So that's one thing I love about coaching, is that you can see people everywhere. And I just realized that there were a lot of women who wore that mask of perfection and success, what society deems as successful, for whatever reason. And we've taken on these roles and responsibilities that are not really ours, right? You have children who become adults at very young ages, trying to process and manage their parents, and domestic violence or emotional violence, like all this stuff. And when I started working with women, and I realized also that the veteran women are very underrepresented, because most of the resources that are available are tended for men, right? And so I said, what can I, again, it's not to bash anyone. I'm here to say, how can God use me to contribute to the solution? That's
Mm-hmm.
it. It's not about me. If I do help and I am able to help, then I am. But it's not about me at this point. And so when I realized that, I said, okay, with Blissful Life Consulting, that's what we do. We offer mental health and wellness services, and also corporate wellness. But I said, no, we need something specific that's geared towards supporting veteran women. So we do retreats. I had this wonderful event that I hosted last year. The VA, one of the centers, the community centers, brought all of their women, and we provided wellness services. We had workshops, we had services, we had massages, we had facials, we had energy medicine, and then we had different workshops. So our goal was to look at every pillar of wellness to include financial. So we had a financial advisor there. And this year we're doing a retreat in Massena in Virginia, right around Veterans Day this year. So God is just, I feel like when God uses you, you give back, right? You
Mm-hmm.
accept the assignment and you say, okay, I'm going to be obedient, and I'm going to be obedient to my calling. And when you are, even though it will be stressful, it won't feel as tedious and as, stressful as other things that you've done when you're walking in your calling.
Mhm. I think that sounds amazing. And I was like, as you're talking, I'm like trying to think, like, I really don't know many organizations or nonprofits or anything like that that really just focuses on women veteran. You're
That's right.
absolutely right.
That's right.
Um, so I think that that's something that you have the ability to help, and you're like, hey, God, use me, guide me, and help me help others. And I think that that's amazing. And then with your consulting, can you talk a little bit? I mean, you touched a little bit about it, but can you expand a little bit on when you're saying you work with other coaches? What do you do with your consulting program or your consulting business?
So I do spiritual transformation coaching. Many people who come to me or work with me are high achieving women who have experienced traumas, who've, developed this mask. They're living a life and they feel completely empty inside, and they know that it's time for a change. And so we basically work together for professionally and on their business and on their personal life to really revisit, right? And to find who you are now, to get clarity on what your current assignment is, because it may look different from, what it was before. And I talk about the grief that you're going to associate with dropping or releasing the old version of yourself, releasing people from your life who will only identify with the old version of yourself, who does not want you to change because they benefited off of who you were. Right. And so it feels like, oh, this is uncomfortable. I could either stay in this misery and pain, or I could risk losing some of this to actually free myself. And so that's what we do. And a lot of my people are writing books. I have one who's launching a talk show. I have one who closed down her brick and mortar. It was sucking her dry. She's doing something completely different now. And I just want to highlight her because, again, she didn't know how she was going to make money. She ends up getting into, another type of field, and she got a scholarship. And not only she got a scholarship for a certification, and not only that, it was a paid internship, and she bought a new car. So it's like, wait a minute now, right? So that just excites me. I love that I can do that type of work and help people the way I do.
I love that you're doing that, because I think that one of the things when you talk about it is like separating yourself from people. And I do time management. I'm a time management coach, and I do productivity, organizational systems, and things like that.
Okay.
But one of the things that we teach in the time management is kind of what you reflected on, is sometimes when you may be giving too much of your time and energy to the wrong people.
That's
And
right.
so boundaries are so important. And so you're helping people see that you got to separate yourself from some people, because some people, like you said, they only want your time because they're always taking from you, but they're never
That's
giving
right.
anything back to you. And
That's
that,
right.
helping, that's like some of that goes back to the trauma. Like we're always saying yes to people please, and all of these other things, because that's how we just want people to love us and to validate us and all of those things. But sometimes, sometimes people aren't serving you, or, you got to understand that. And there's a season for everybody
That's
too.
right.
I think
That's
that's important.
absolutely right. I love the work that you're doing. I love that. I just got something. I don't know if you can see it, the Pomodoro
Oh yeah. Yep.
method. That's one thing too, right? So we talk about the decluttering,
Mm-hmm.
and the time and the focus. So there's so many things that are part of this. And I feel like there's not enough people in the world, right? We all have a space to help people, right? You're a subject matter expert in this. I'm a subject, and I just love seeing women help other people to become the best version of themselves. Because time is one of your best assets, not money. So I
Mm-hmm.
think of Steve Jobs. I always think of Steve Jobs, because what he created, his vision, his goal is unthinkable. You're picking up a phone and you're talking to somebody in a whole nother country
Mm-hmm.
right here on your phone, but yet he's not here to even see that,
Yep.
right?
Right.
So does it really matter? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
oh, he'll go down, his name goes down, in history. But to me, he talked about not, the things that he regretted, not being there for his family and having those relationships. And so I just say, let's learn from them.
No, absolutely. I actually just posted one of his quotes the other day, if you don't mind me reading it. He said, "Your work is going to fill a large part of your life, And the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way you do great work is to love what you do. And if you haven't found it yet, don't look, keep looking, and don't settle. All that really matters of the heart, you'll know when you find it. And that's kind of like, we can do great things, but part of it is also about like work is going to always be work, but you got to love what you're doing.
Gotta
And
love, then
because
you'll never work a day in your life.
yes, because our time is so precious. Like you said, like it's our most important asset. Like we don't ever get it back. Like every minute we're just going in closer to our endpoint. And so the way that we use our time and how we making sure that we use it the best. And that's also goes back to what we were talking about earlier. When you start your day and if you think negatively right away, your day's always going to be negative. But if
That's
you
right.
just thank God that you woke up and think, okay, what great gift am I going to, what great gift am I going to be able to see today or appreciate, or where are you going to guide me at today? It changes everything. I don't want to
does.
be wasting time being angry or saying no to somebody about something that they want me to do because it's, and I'm like, okay, I'm busy working on something else and I don't want to be worried about the anger that they might have because I'm just wasting time thinking about that. What does God put on my heart today? What is it that my mission is going to be today? And how am I going to serve others is more important than being the yes person all the time because somebody wants me to take them somewhere or, all the other things. It doesn't, whatever the situation is.
That's so true. That is so true.
I love all the things that you're doing. And so how can people connect with you?
So people can connect with me. My website, MalaysiaHarrell.com, BlissfulLifeConsulting.com for the wellness and mental health solutions, and for speaking engagements, for workshops, or just for consultation, info at MalaysiaHarrell.com. And I'm all on most social media platforms. I'm highly active on Instagram. And so, follow me there. You'll see my book coming out, God Has My Six. And it really talks about, my healing journey, but really it's the blueprint for someone who wants to completely transform their life. It's that manual that I needed when I was in complete darkness and I did not know or see a glimmer of hope on the other side. This is it.
So I love the name of your book. And actually, I even have a sticker on my, I have a friend who's a veteran who has his brand is called Get Your Six for clothing. Like he does clothing.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he does like a clothing brand. And so can you talk about what Got Your Six means? Because most people may not know it.
They don't.
Not into the military.
Everyone asks me that. So God has my six. So in military terms, right, because this is paying homage to, my service and my career and just all the blessings and opportunities that I've had and been afforded. But basically in combat or just in direction, we go by directions, and the direction is by the clock. And so 6 o'clock is actually your back. So could you imagine going into the enemy saying, I'm right on, northwest at this coordinates, and so it's really a way to, to say, God has my back. God has my back, because everybody's not always going to have your back, even though they love you. So when you are transforming to the highest version of yourself, people are going to look at you like, what is she doing? What is wrong with her? She done lost it, and so they have not seen the vision that God has given you for your life. That was not a conference call. Okay. Yeah. It was between you and God. And so sometimes you need to kind of go inward and have that relationship and develop that relationship, especially if you've lost that connection. A lot of us have, especially when we experience traumas, get back that relationship and hear directly from God. And guess what? You're not always going to be able to talk about the visions that you're given. Because again, people are going to be making phone call. You okay? Somebody said you doing this. What's that about? So just God has my six. Talk with God. Get everything going that you need to get. And just remember that God lives inside of you as well. Because I felt, and I have a lot of patients that say, I have questions for God, or I don't know why this happened or that happened. So you feel a disconnect. But it's like, no, it's just that there's a lot of trauma that is, kind of overshadowing. So they have these blockages, these spiritual blockages. But if you are made in the image and likeness of God, then you are part of God. Like that is what it is. And that's how you're able to create. And so that just knowing that gives people a little bit of hope to say, oh, I can create this. And here's the thing. If you haven't been doing it, let's just see what's the pot. If I'm already at the bottom,
right.
Can I just see what I could do? I still got time. Let me just see and then watch God blow your mind.
I love that. I love that. When is your book coming out?
My book is coming out at the end of the year. And so just stay posted and, you can get a copy. Some people have done pre-sale, so they're going to get their copy first, but it's been a labor of love. And what I will tell people is if you do want to do any type of memoir, that does involve trauma, that is not an easy process at all. Everyone's thing is cute. Oh, I have a book. And it's like, no, you're going to be led down them dark hallways and them tunnels that you were in because you're re-experiencing it. And so that's why I'm going to be like working with women to help them, publish their books, because now I know what people need or how I can support during those time frames. But it is not an easy process at all. And one thing to remember, if you are going to tell your story, is it's not for you. Your story's not for you. So when, because initially it's like, I want to tell everybody my story. I want to tell them what happened, but just know that it's not for you. It's going to help someone else in their deliverance.
I love that. I love that. As we wrap up, and I'll make sure that I have all your links in the show notes and stuff. I mean, we could talk for days on this, everything. But I always like to ask my guest, what is a word, a phrase, a book to read, a type of action, something that they can do today in order to refine and shine?
Oh, there's so many. I can answer this in so many ways.
Go ahead.
But I would say to practice the art of becoming and to embrace it. We talked about surrender before, but it's not like you ever reach a time to say, oh, I've made it. And so when you embrace the art of becoming, continuously growing, continuously transforming yourself, I'm not talking about getting degrees and getting certifications. That's completely different. I'm talking about working to honor yourself, honor the reason why you're here, and working towards becoming the highest version of yourself at all times. They talk about Maslow's, hierarchy of needs and self-actualization. And a lot of people never will reach that. But wouldn't it be nice to try? Wouldn't it be nice to see where we could go in that and becoming the highest version of ourselves? And as far as a book, I think The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. I just actually seen him several weeks ago in DC. He was very monumental in my healing and just learning about mindfulness and, learning to be, right? We're human beings. And learning about the role we play in our own suffering.
Oh, sounds so good. I actually have that book on the shelf over there. That's going to be my next book to read today.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Oh, see, ding, ding, ding. I always, anytime these little tiny I call them tiny miracles. If something keeps coming up, write that down. Hone in on that.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, you're such an amazing guest. I thank you for all that you've provided. And I cannot wait for your book to come out, and I will have all the links on the show notes. And I just want to say thank you, one, for your service, and thank you for everything that you have created. And I just want to again say thank you for helping those veteran women out there and all those who've been underserved, because I think that there's such a need. Like I said, it's taken me a long time to get to where I am. And it's because I had to go through a lot of the trauma
Yeah,
healing work and thinking that I wasn't good enough and all the things. And you are inspiring me to say that, you don't have to limit yourself. You
you
don't have to
don't.
put yourself in a box.
Not at all.
So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.